Welcome to the next lecture of random process. So in today's lecture we will introduce power spectral density of a random process. You might be already aware about power spectral density in your Fourier transform. I will briefly revise that. Let's consider a signal, time domain signal g of t. We know that if this signal is defined over finite duration, finite t, okay, so something like this. Suppose this is g of t, this is t by 2, this is minus t by 2. Or it can be a truncated version of, suppose this is your g of t, I am truncating it from minus t by 2 to t by 2. Truncated version is more useful and meaningful in periodic signals. Suppose I have a periodic signal like this with period t. So when I want to define the power or energy for this signal, I will concentrate myself on this time period t. Okay, and I will denote that signal which I truncate up to the time duration t with g t subscript of small t. Now how will we define energy for the signal? So in time domain, the energy for this signal will be simply you will integrate it, this function gt of t dt, from minus infinity to plus infinity, and this way you will define the energy of the signal. And in particular, if the Fourier transform of this truncated signal small gt of t is capital GT of omega, okay, then we know by Parseval's theorem, sorry, it is here square, okay, we know by Parseval's theorem that we can express this energy in terms of time domain as well as frequency domain with this relationship mod of gt of omega square d omega. This signal, when we have finite t, it is called energy signal. Okay, why? Because this energy will be finite, but when t is unbounded, when t tends to infinity, suppose look at this signal, its energy will not be finite, it will be infinite, of course. Similarly, this signal, its energy will be infinite. In that case, we define power of a signal. So how will we define the power? Definitely we will go by basic definition. Power is energy per unit time. But we are allowing this time to increase, this time period t. Mathematically it means limit t goes to infinity, and this we will define as power. I will call as Pg. Now such signals for which even if you take t to infinity, but the energy per unit time, that is power, is finite, they are called power signals. You definitely would have done this in Fourier transform. Okay, now how did it look like? So it will look like limit t goes to infinity, something like this. We can write it, this is our power. Here I will do one step which will seem obvious to you, but that needs some mathematical justification. We will not invoke those justifications here, that is a little bit lengthy discussion. But the only thing we assume is that the functions gt of omega, gt of t, they are nice functions. Okay, something I will write in inverted commas, nice functions. Nice function in the sense is, see what operation I will do. I will write here first of all 1 over 2 pi. Okay, then I will take, this integral here and I will take this 1 over t inside the integral and write it like this. To some of you it may seem, okay, sorry, there is one more thing, there is limit t goes to infinity here. To some of you it may seem, okay, it is quite obvious, why should we worry about it, we can exchange. We can't exchange always, there are some conditions, okay, under which we can exchange. There are some conditions on the function gt of omega, there are some conditions about how the limit should grow. I will briefly tell the condition here, so if some of you will not get that condition, don't worry. One of the conditions is, you see, as t increases, this gt of omega square, this is also increasing, and this t in the denominator is also increasing. Gt of square and t should increase at same rate with t. What will be the benefit? The benefit will be the ratio, and the limit of the ratio will then converge. So the limit should converge actually, that is the condition. Anyways, now we can then define the power in a very nice way. It is this 1 over 2 pi and limit t tends to infinity mod gt of omega square divided by t d omega. So this is our power. Now let me give a one very vague layman type of comparison to justify name what we call as power spectral density. Let's consider mass density. Mass density. Okay, let's denote that with rho, and you know that how is it defined? Its units are, it is kg per meter cube. Okay, so mass per volume. Now if suppose I have let me take a one-dimensional profile of this density. Suppose this is x and this is rho, and it is somewhat like this, and you know this x extends from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, and let's assume it is a one-dimensional surface, so its density will be kg per meter, right? Now what will be the total mass? So what you will do, you will integrate this rho, which is a function of x here, dx, from minus infinity to plus infinity, right? This is how will you do. So you look at it, the quantity here is multiplied with the differential of frequency and then integrated. In the same way, the mass density is multiplied by the length and then integrated. Or if you talk of volume, then it will be a triple integral, rho of x, y, z, dx, dy, dz. We can write it as a volume integral, rho of v, dv. Okay, so this quantity inside the this integral, it has a meaning of sort of a power density, because to get the power you are integrating it with respect to frequency. In the same way you integrate density with respect to distance. So this quantity is called power spectral density, PSD for short, and now we'll define it formally. We call it Sg of omega as gt of omega, its square divided by t, limit t tends to infinity, and then the power comes out to be 1 over 2 pi Sg of omega d omega. So this justifies the name power spectral density. It is actually power per unit frequency, but it is angular frequency. Why is this 1 by 2 overhanging over here? Because we can always write omega is equal to 2 pi f in terms of usual frequency. So Pg will be 1 over 2 pi minus infinity to infinity Sg of f 2 pi f. This 2 pi will get cancelled, so we get Sg of f df. So this is another way of writing power, total power, in terms of power spectral density. Okay. Now our main target is to define power spectral density of PSD of random process. Let's say x of t. So PSD of random process will definitely be not so simple. So let me take an example of, again, x of t is equal to a cos of omega ct plus this theta. Here theta phase is a random variable uniformly distributed over 0. We write it like this, uniformly distributed over 0 to 2 pi. Now if we try to define power spectral density of this random process in the same way as we tried for deterministic signals which are not random, we will be in trouble, because you see, if we see for every theta, for every such sample, there will be a different sample function or sample path actually plus theta for every such theta, and we then need to find Fourier transform of all those sample functions, which is not possible. So one of the ways of defining power spectral density will be, first of all, we can't define it for non-stationary process, because for non-stationary process, the mean, the variance, the autocorrelation function, they change with time. So it will not be possible to define. So while we are talking of power spectral density of random process, we will focus on stationary, or if not strict stationary, at least wide sense stationary random process. And what is that? I will again reiterate. A wide sense stationary random process is whose mean, the expectation, which you write like this, or you write x bar of t, is constant, and whose autocorrelation function, so I'll write Rx of t1, t2, depends only on the time difference t2 minus t1. It doesn't depend upon where we choose t1, right, or where we choose t2, but the relative difference between the two. This is the definition of wide sense stationary random process. Only for such random processes we can define in some sense power spectral density. I will show you how. First of all, we again talk of a time interval t, okay, time duration t, a time period t. We truncate the random process and denote the truncated random process by xt of t. Okay, suppose here is a random process. Okay, you concentrate on this part, minus t by 2, t by 2. This is time duration t. This is what it means. So this truncated part will be xt of t. Now let's consider its Fourier transform. Let xt of omega be its Fourier transform. Okay, and then taking the analogy from power spectral density, the way you define it for non-random processes, deterministic signals, we will take its square. Okay, but now as it is a random process, we will also take its expectation, mean of this square. This is the first difference. And then as usual we divide it by t and take the limit t tends to infinity. You see the numerator still is it gives a sense of energy. Okay, and this is what we will define as power spectral density, and the notation will be s x of omega. The result, one result which we will prove in next lecture. I will have a separate video for that, but the result is very important, and that is the way to compute power spectral densities. The result is the power spectral density is Fourier transform of the corresponding autocorrelation function. Okay, this is very important theorem. It means if you are given a random process x of t and you are asked to compute its power spectral density, the first step is compute its autocorrelation function. Or x of tau, and then find the Fourier transform of this autocorrelation function, treating this tau as a time variable. Then you will get directly that power spectral density. The proof of this, I will have a separate video for that. Right now this result is very important for us. It means that we can write Sx of omega as, by using the definition of Fourier transform, Rx of tau e to the power minus j omega tau d tau, and correspondingly we can write Rx of tau as Sx of omega e to the power j omega tau d omega. This is the autocorrelation power spectral density pair. This is also, it has a special name, Wiener-Khinchin theorem. Okay, Wiener was an American mathematician. Khinchin was a Russian mathematician. So they independently did a work regarding these autocorrelation functions and so on and so forth. So it is called in their name. So autocorrelation functions form very basic and fundamental quantity in the spectral analysis of random processes. If you have any random process, the first thing is to identify whether it is White-Sands stationary or not. If it is, then the most important function, the central function, is autocorrelation function of that random process. You computed that, then you can derive power spectral density. From power spectral density, you will see later on how we can find the power, average power, and other quantities of the signal. Again, as an example, if you go back, and the example we took was a cos omega ct plus theta. In previous class, as well as this is a solved example in the book, we computed the autocorrelation function of this as a square by 2 cos of omega c tau. Now we can easily compute the autocorrelation function Sx of omega. That will be Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function, which is here a square by 2 cos of omega c tau. That will be equal to a square by 2 times pi delta of omega plus omega c plus delta of omega minus omega c. Okay, so it means that this random process, if we plot its power spectral density Rx of omega, it has just two power components, one at omega c and the other at minus omega c, with the strength a square pi by 2. Okay, this is one example. Now in next class we will do the proof of the fact that autocorrelation, the Fourier transform of autocorrelation is power spectral density. We'll also study some important properties of this power spectral density as well as autocorrelation function that will enable us to find various quantities like average power, peak power, as we will see using some examples. Thank you.